Hello there. You're listening to Scraps and Stories, a podcast that brings you real and relatable stories from what life in healthcare really looks like. The last phase, we're going to pretty much talk about what life after med school looks like. And these are the perfect people to ask that because they are in their last year of medicine and dentistry. So they already have an idea what the next step for them looks like. And that's also going to give you an idea what is really going through the mind of someone who's in the last years of medicine or should go through the mind of someone finishing medicine or dentistry. So guys, would you take us through what that process is like? How does last year feel for you, first of all?
Do you want to start
Is
with
it
the good news
easy?
or the bad news?
Let's start with the bad news.
So I should go first. No, because if like wait, there's better news.
Yeah.
And then we better to end on a happy note. Yeah. So for me, I'll graduate in 2 months. I don't really know. Well, I think I know where I'm going, but it's a bit more complicated. So in Poland, they have what they call stage, which is a postgraduate internship. And for you to be able to practice independently in Poland, you need to have it, as well as in other EU countries. They want you to do it. Same thing goes for the UK. I don't really want to do it because if you don't do it in Polish and you decide to do it in English, it costs about anywhere between 45,000 and 60,000 zloty. So it's very expensive. And I don't think I want to stay here for an additional 6 months if I don't have to. So I think my plan is to go to Ireland, and then just try to go straight into like working either public or private and see how that goes.
Yeah.
But the problem is I have to wait for my diploma first before the whole process can begin. So I can't apply ahead of time. I can't do anything. You are just sort of waiting. And then once you wait and you get your diploma, you can then sort of send it for registration and then have to apply for a job and then find a company willing to hire you. So for me, the whole postgraduate thing and thinking about how that goes properly starts after graduation.
Okay.
Like right now, there's not really much I can do about it. It properly starts after graduation. So
Okay.
there's the stress that is associated with that.
Yeah. Is it generally for dentistry that you like places you have to apply to, you have to have your diploma? Or is it only Ireland where you need to have your diploma as you apply?
Well, it depends on where you want to go. But for example, if you want to go to anywhere in the EU, or if you want to go to the UK, you need to do stage. So either way, you wouldn't even be applying to go now. You'd be hoping to go in a year's time after completing the postgraduate internship. So I'm sort of just skipping that step because at least for now, I think that's the best decision to make. But I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So for you to do stage here, do you have to take the LIC exam?
For stage, no.
Okay.
From what I know, but I took it already because again, for the UK, they also want you to do it. And because I was considering the UK at some point, I just decided to do it and get it off the way. But it would be good to write it, especially if you want to stay in the EU or go to the UK. My advice to someone would be to say, just sit for the LDEC. And
What is the LDEC?
the LDEC is like it's like the end of diploma exam. So basically, the Polish students and optionally for English speaking students, you write this exam that asks you everything. It's an exam at the end of the course, and it's written twice a year, and you need to get 56% to pass it. And then once you can pass it, for Polish students, it matters a bit more because it decides what kind of specialty you can get into. The higher the score you get, the better specialty you get. For some of us, you just need to pass it and have it because some countries will ask for it.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
And on to the good news.
But that wasn't bad at all. I mean, you still have a plan.
Yeah.
You kind of gave us an idea of someone who is in the last years of dentistry. It's not going to, obviously, the process of it is very accurate. It's very different from medicine.
Yeah.
So you kind of give us an idea of what that looks like for someone who just finished dentistry. And I think that's very interesting. Hey, do you want to take us through the process? What's going through your mind right now?
So for me, the process started last year because I already knew that I wanted to go to the UK. I don't know if things are gonna change like later on, but for me, it's like I'm just going into, again, medicine has stage, just like Kudzi was saying, which is either a year in Polish for internship or 6 months in English. But in English, you'd have to pay tuition. You wouldn't get paid.
But that's for someone who wants to stay in Poland.
That's
right?
for Poland,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Alternatively, you could, for example, go to the UK like I'm doing. And that's 2 years of internship, but it's paid internship in English, which I like. Yeah. And there's, like I've chosen the UK because I have a lot of family there. So, yeah. And that process started last year, like in June. I just had to take IELTS, which is the English proficiency test. And that made me eligible to apply to the UK. And then it was just the national applications after that.
You don't have to do any exams to go to the UK?
Not me, no. If you right now, if you graduated in Europe, then you don't have to take any exams to move to the UK, aside from IELTS.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know why didn't any of you guys consider staying in Poland?
So earlier we were talking about how, like, the culture shock,
Yes.
right? And we were talking about being Black in Poland.
Yeah.
And I think because, for me at least, because I've been here for 6 years, it's like the first year I hated this place,
Yeah.
but I was just hanging on. Second year, third year, fourth year, part of it, I said, like, okay, this is not a bad place. I have really good friends here. I'm actually very comfortable. It's actually safe. People are not racist. They're just curious. It's a good place to stay. And also it's easy to go to all the neighboring countries because it's the Schengen area, so it'll be fine. I was thinking about the fact that 2 years after graduation, you could apply for permanent residency, which is good for us who
2
need.
years?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was 3 years.
No, it's 2,
Oh, that's nice.
I think.
Okay.
Anyways, but then 5th year and 6th year came around, and I'm kind of just fed up with being scared that, I can't lie.
I also feel like the system makes it hard for us to stay as international students.
Because again, to do that stage, the internship,
you're paying for it.
you have to pay for it. You're not gonna get paid,
Yeah.
but you could go somewhere else and get paid.
Get paid.
Yeah. I think that's the problem for me, at least.
And the thing is, I think stage is only for international students. They're the only ones that pay.
Polish students get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
pay.
we're not going to.
But for me also, I think the language was the other thing.
Yes.
I think it's so hard to be, you can be very good at what you do, and like in our field, like a very good doctor or a good dentist, but it's very hard to then translate that if you can't like speak to a patient and properly understand them. The quality of care that you deliver is very different.
Yeah.
And I think it's just frustrating because it's like a glass ceiling when you can't speak the language. You can only go so far before you feel like, oh, that's it. I can't go any further.
Yeah.
And I think, at least for me, I am just a bit fed up by that. And of course, people say like, why don't you just learn Polish?
Yeah.
Why can't I just go to a country that speaks English?
Yeah, and it's not an easy
And it's not
language
an
to
English.
learn.
Exactly. Polish is very difficult to learn, especially when it's not a priority. Like there's so many other things that you have to do. Learning Polish isn't really at the top of that list right now.
And a lot of foreigners feel that way.
Exactly. So I think for me, it was just the language. So if I can find a country that speaks English, why not?
Yeah.
I think it'll be easier for me to adapt to talk to locals, deal with patients. Your life sort of becomes easier.
Yeah, that's true. I know for a lot of people that are finishing medicine and dentistry, they're already in a lot of debt, or they have, we are already in school for such a long time that our bank accounts are almost like zero at this point. Yeah. So a lot of us finish when we are looking for places where at least we're going to regain that money, a
Yeah.
bit of that money. Do you think Poland is a good option? Because I heard this year they increased
The salary.
the salary.
Yeah.
So for you guys, did that change any of your perspective or any of your decisions into staying? Is it ever about money for you guys to like consider a place or?
It's about money, but Poland doesn't give enough.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
money is important, but I think you also have to look at other factors. And like we've already talked about, things like the language barrier. If I'm going to give up all these, if I'm going to like compromise on all these other
Yes.
things, then the money has to be very good.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, earning is lottery. If I want to go to a vacation in Paris,
It's
it's going to be still very expensive. Or if I
Thinking
want to do
everything times 4.
exactly, if I still want to go to another country that uses the euro or outside Poland, everything's going to still be more expensive.
Yes.
So when you then think of those things, you're just like, even if they raise it, it's
I
not
think
enough.
at the end of the day, Poland is only a good idea for someone who already, first of all, speaks Polish.
Yeah.
And it's easier if they have the nationality, because if you don't have the nationality, it's a whole nother process to integrate yourself as a doctor into the country. Yeah. So did you guys think of any other countries apart from the country that you've already decided to go to?
No.
Because you heard about you. What was on your list? Because I know for me, when I started medicine,
Yeah.
I had like a list of countries, maybe 20.
Kudzaishe, yeah?
I felt like I had so many options. Sorry. I felt like I had so many options after I'm done
Yeah.
that I can go to any country. But as the years go by,
keep removing more.
it's like things are getting hard. Like,
Yeah.
because countries have different requirements and
Yeah.
you see, oh, do I meet these requirements? So if, at the end of the day, you find yourself, you only have like 2 or 3 countries.
Options.
So what was that process like for you? Have you always thought you wanted to go to this country, or did you also have like options?
I think the UK was my first choice
Mhm.
at the beginning, and then I found out the whole stash thing.
Yeah.
So it couldn't be a first choice anymore. So there's Ireland, there's Malta. Malta speaks English.
Yeah.
For me, I think the most important thing at this point is just English.
Yeah.
I know it sounds silly, but it's so important to me right now. People need to speak English. And I've also been looking at Norway
Yeah.
as like an option of last resort.
Okay.
Because I know a lot of Norwegians,
Okay.
of course. There's so many Norwegians I know from our school.
Yeah.
And also for you to go work there, you don't need stash, you don't need to speak the language, at least for the registration part of it. So as an option of last resort, Norway is a good option. But also I'm thinking of leaving Europe completely later in life.
Yeah.
Where are you
Consider,
going?
consider places like Australia
Oh.
or Canada, or I think I'm young, kind of. And
You are, yes.
I am not young. I am a grown man. But I'm young, kind of, and a part of me just wants to stay with an open mind.
Yes.
To say, like, the world is my oyster. Wherever life leads me, wherever the money leads me, I just go there. I want to stay open to new opportunities as long as they're in English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where in the world would you advise someone, for example, someone who has so many options and they can go anywhere for dentistry? Where is a dentist paid the most, and they have the best
Quality of life.
quality of life? They're paid.
They don't exist in the same country.
Okay.
Dentists are paid the most in the US,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think you get the best quality of life in the US
As a dentist.
as anyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I get
Like,
it.
no shade to the Americans, but I
Yeah.
think they're better countries with better work-life balances, with free healthcare. Like, when I think of good quality of life, I'm thinking of good work-life balance. I'm thinking of free healthcare, good public transport, and all these things. The US doesn't really provide that. Sure, if you make so much money, then it doesn't matter if there's free healthcare or not.
Yeah.
But I think dentists definitely make the most money in the US. But when you think of better quality of life, countries like Canada, Australia come into mind, and they still pay really well. Even Europe has very great quality of life, but then Europe doesn't pay as well. Yeah.
Do you have any idea what, maybe in Africa, what what a dentist, their quality of life, or what dentistry looks like in Africa? Do you know?
I didn't even mention Africa because Africa is not on my mind right now. But I would say Zimbabwe is okay
Yeah.
if you work private and you have the right clients.
Yeah.
I think the thing about Africa, generally speaking, I don't want to generalize because Africa is not a monolith. But from what I know from like living in Zimbabwe, you can have a very good quality of life as a dentist. You just need to have the right clients. You need to work private. You need to know the right people.
Yeah.
Because if you just go and work for the government, it's not going to look that great.
Yes. Yes.
It's different from here. As a dentist to Europe, if I work for the government, I'm going to be fine and have a very decent quality of life. In Zimbabwe, if I go work for the government, it's not the same story.
Yes.
So I think
most people are private.
yes,
For them to,
yeah, you need to
and
live
if you're
private.
private, you have a pretty good life or salary, right?
It depends where you are in private. It depends where your clients in private.
Yeah.
Neighborhoods you're servicing in private. Because if you're a private doctor in a high density neighborhood where people are barely scraping by, they can't afford to have a $50 dental examination. Of which if you go to the more affluent neighborhood, if you tell them $200 for an examination, they like you as a person. Just like, oh, my dentist is great, so they'll give you that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's true.
it depends where you are, and I guess it's like that everywhere. But I think right now Africa is just not on my mind.
Yeah.
But maybe a bit later in life, who knows?
Yeah. You never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, how about you?
I've always told myself I'm going back to Africa when I'm old and I don't need money anymore.
Oh,
Then I'll go back and work in the public sector.
You go back as a rich babe.
Yeah, when I'm rich
Giving
already,
back,
then
giving
when
back.
I'm rich already, then I'll go and be like, okay, you can pay me peanuts now. It's fine. I want to go back home. It's just not practical too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, the question, I think you also didn't answer the question of, did you have any other options? Or
Options?
has it always been the UK for you?
It was always the UK as possibly as a pathway to Australia. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I pretty much just looked at the English speaking countries again, like Kudzaishe did. I never wanted to live in the US at all, or in Canada. I was just never interested. And then so was Australia and the UK for me. And you can't just wake up and go to Australia from Poland.
Yeah.
It's much easier if you go through the UK. So it might be a pathway, or maybe I will get caught up in the cycle like other people do and just stay in the UK. We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have
time
you
will
back.
tell.
We'll have you guys back.
Maybe back in
Maybe,
Poland.
maybe in a few years we'll have you guys back on the podcast and you tell us
When
how-
English becomes an official language in Poland, maybe I'll come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now that you've both chosen the countries that you've chosen, I know for you the process will be later on, but I'm sure you still have an idea of what the process is going to require of you. Could you guys take us through what that process is like? For example, someone who wants to go to the UK, they're in their 4th year or 5th year. What should they start knowing? What are the key points that they should mark and know that, okay, this is what I'm required of? These are the deadlines that I need to know of. Is there any exams that I need to do? Yeah, what would you tell that person?
Okay, so let's say you're in 4th year. You're looking out for end of 5th year, at which point you are writing IELTS. By like end of June, mid-July, you've written IELTS, you've got your results back. You're doing the eligibility application.
In 4th year?
5th year.
5th year.
Yeah. The eligibility application, you do that, you get conditional acceptance because, well, if you're like me and you need a visa or you don't have a right to work in the UK. Around October.
So you should start the application process
End of
fifth year.
June.
End of
Yes,
fifth
in
year.
fifth year.
End
In
of
fifth
fifth
year.
year. End of
That's when you're gonna write IELTS.
Okay.
Throughout the summer, you're going to submit your eligibility application, right? That's going to give you conditional acceptance because you don't have a right to work in the UK, maybe. If you have a right to work, I love that for you. And then around October, the national application opens, and now you're applying against the rest of the UK students, right? You're going to do that, and you'll move on to the next process, which you're in. Once that works out, you're already in. Then you're going to rank foundation schools, which is just the whole country divided into particular sections, and each section of that is the foundation school. You're going to pick yours, rank them from 1 to 14, and cross your fingers and hope that you get the first choice.
Okay.
Yeah, if, for example, you choose London and put it as your second choice, it's just a waste of time. London, not that picking London is a bad idea, but London gets a lot of people applying. The competition ratios are stiff, right?
Yeah. So, by the way, right now you are applying into residency. What are you
For
applying in?
internship, the
For
2 years of internship.
Okay, which is F1 and F2, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And after this process, after you get your results, then what happens? Do you wait? When do you get your confirmation and results?
Okay, so you got your confirmation at the beginning of 6th year when you did the national application and you got in. You're in.
Okay.
Now it's about choosing what area of the UK you're going to work in. And that's what I was saying. You're going to rank foundation schools 1 to 14,
Yeah.
right? Hope that you'll get your first choice. When you find out which foundation school you're going to, they will contact you and give you a list of programs. And now that's pretty much the rotations that you're going to do for the whole of the 2 years.
Okay.
You're going to rank these programs. Very long and tedious. Right? You're going to rank them, get your program, and now you know what jobs you're going to be working in 4-month blocks for 2 years.
Okay. So you already have like your calendar for 2
I do,
years.
yeah.
Okay, that's really nice. Sorry. And do you rank them? You're the one who ranks them the way you want? Like,
Yeah.
I want to do pediatrics at this time.
Exactly.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
I pretty much went through, there was 270 options for me, each with 6 rotations. It was really long. I pretty much went through and said, okay, I don't want to do palliative care at all.
Okay.
I don't want palliative care. I don't want oncology. I don't want hematology. I don't like them, right? I marked them red.
Okay.
They were going to go at the very bottom of the rank. And then I said, okay, I don't want to move cities because foundation schools, it's an area of the UK. It's got multiple cities. Sometimes you get a program that has first year in one city, second year in another. I don't want to have to move. So I checked of the ones that don't have rotations that I don't want, which ones don't require me to move.
Yeah.
Those ones went to the top. And then I said, okay, I want these rotations. I searched which programs had those rotations, and those again went at the top of the ones that I don't have to move. So it kind of went like that. The rotations I wanted, where I don't have to move. The rotations I don't necessarily care about, where I don't have to move. And then the ones where I have to move. And then the ones with the rotations I don't want to ever see.
Okay.
And that's how I ranked it.
Oh, that's very interesting. I didn't know you guys had choices of picking what you don't want to do and what you.
It's not that you pick, but you rank
You
them.
rank it.
Yeah. And then you hope that you're going to
like that
fall
ranking.
somewhere at the top
Okay.
where you don't have to move and it's rotations that you like.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. Kudzi, how about you? How for someone who wants to go to Ireland as a dentist, what does that process look like?
You graduate, you get your diploma, you need to take it to Warsaw for some extra documents you need to be given, you need to translate everything. So basically just getting the documents.
Is your diploma given to you in Polish?
I don't know.
Oh, that's such a good question.
I think our diploma in English, hopefully.
There's hope.
Yeah, okay.
This is Poland. Nothing is off limits.
Yeah.
I don't know, but after you get all these things, you need to submit them to the Irish Dental Council. So then they have about up to 12 weeks to confirm your registration. And then once you're registered, you can apply for jobs.
Okay.
Once you get a job, Hopefully, the company you find wants to sponsor you. So they give you a letter of sponsorship and then you apply for a work permit and you go. In theory, it sounds simple. In practice, things are never simple that involve immigration offices.
Yeah. But what
So-
are the chances of internationals getting jobs in Ireland?
From what I've heard, the jobs are there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like people are not too keen in hiring. If I can find a local person to do it, I'm going to hire local. That's the first thing. The second thing is I'm coming in with zero experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, someone really needs to be willing to give me the benefit of the doubt to say, I will bring you to this country with zero experience and trust that you're going to do a good job. So, it's one of those situations where you're just like, what's for you is for you.
for you.
If I'm supposed to get it, I'm going to get it. If not, something different will open up.
Yeah.
And then, all roads will lead somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you feel like do you guys, from what you have researched or like how your processes have gone so far, do you feel like having a diploma from Poland, or at this university to be specific, do you feel like it ranks high? From the beginning of the podcast, we said how this is one of the best universities in Poland. From your application processes, do you feel like this diploma plays a big role in these application processes? Or it doesn't matter? Or even not just like these universities, but Poland as itself, as a general, as a country, getting a diploma from here.
The school, not as much from what I've seen, but the fact that it's in the EU, what matters the most.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, things are way simple if you want to stay in Europe, if you have a degree from Europe. The process when you want to come from outside is tedious. It's much more difficult. So it's not, from what I've seen at least so far, I don't know about Faith, it's not necessarily about the school, but it's about Poland being in the EU.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Because I think the process is totally different, even in the UK, for someone who does not have a European diploma.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
I feel like we've pretty much covered everything. Do you feel like there's anything I haven't covered within like the whole year or something you would tell someone, in their last year, something that we did not mention or something important that we did not mention?
I think just to start researching early. Because, for example, if I wasn't aware that I need to do IELTS by July last year, I wouldn't have done it and I just wouldn't have been able to go to the UK.
I feel like there are already deadlines, and if you miss one, you're already
done.
Yeah,
it's done.
the rest
So-
of your application is just thrown out if you don't meet deadlines.
Yeah, I think by third year you should already start thinking where you
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
go and what you're required of. Because I know for example the US, you have to start way earlier.
Mhm.
Yes, and these and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So
Also, if you're ever asked for a passport scan, do not put it in black and white. I don't know why you would do that.
Who did that?
This guy who was also applying to the UK, he put his passport scan in black and white and then his whole application got thrown out.
no way.
I'm not joking. I'm talking about like last year in July at the start.
Oh, that's sad.
Anyways, I don't know why you would put a black and white passport scan, but anyways.
Those are random. But yeah, I think also to
Very
add what
random.
adding to what Faith said, just do your research.
Read
If
the details.
you haven't started and you can afford or it's possible for you to go train in the country you want to practice in, do that. That's the best way to take it. Always, if possible, always train in the country you want to practice in.
Yeah.
But if not, just do your research. And like no one's gonna do it for you. At this point, the older you get, if you are not on top of things, no one else is gonna
It's
be
your
on top of
problem.
exactly. It's a you problem.
Yeah.
And if you don't do the work, no one's gonna do that for you. Everyone's just trying to figure out their own thing.
Yeah.
And no one's gonna be there to say, oh, did you do your stuff? Like this is not a group project at the end of the day. So
Yeah. You should start thinking way out there.
yeah.
Yeah, that brings us to the end of the podcast. But before we end it, I would like you guys to pretty much give us last word. any last words for someone? For example, not last words, but advice for someone, for 3 people. Someone who is considering or is thinking of, oh, should I do medicine? Should I do dentistry? Someone who is wondering, oh, is it the best career for me? Is it going to be, oh, these long years? Is it worth it? What would you tell that person? And the second person who is already struggling their way through medicine, what would you tell them? Because you guys are already in your last years. So there's ways you've managed to get through. So what would you advise this person? And lastly, someone, I think this one we've already talked about, someone who is in the last year. So if you could say a few things to those 3 people, what would you tell them?
Can I go first?
The first one was someone who's thinking about medicine.
Yeah.
Choosing a medical career.
Okay. Well, I think I would say you have to think about the fact that medicine comes with a really big workload. Is this what you actually want, or you're doing it because it's what's expected of you? Yeah.
Yes.
Because the last thing you want is you're stressed about life in general, because just because you're in uni, you're actually going to be stressed. There's a lot that's going to happen. You're going to be growing up. The last thing you want is to be doing a degree you don't want to be doing. Yeah. So don't pick something just because someone had. I know I said my mom told me to choose the degree, but I'm actually very happy that she told me to choose this one.
Yeah.
But don't just do something because someone told you to do it. Someone who's in med school right now, I would say that you need to start thinking about life after mid school, and not just like applications for internship and for residency, but also think about the fact that you're going to need a CV one day. And that's something I did not think about for 1 second throughout mid school. So start thinking the conferences that are floating around the mid schools, attend. Just go see what's going on, participate, volunteer, work your way towards actually presenting something so that you can have something to show for it. Or the rotations that you're attending, find a doctor that you like, or a subject that you like, a specialty that you like, cozy up to a doctor and stick with them.
Make them friends.
Yeah, it's only going to help you in the future. Start thinking about your CV during school. That's me. I can't remember what the
that's
third
very
person
important
was.
because a lot of us, we just go through medicine, we're like, okay,
Yeah,
we don't, like, there's a conference happening, you're like, okay, that's not my business.
exactly.
Or there's a research program coming up and you're like, oh, that's not, doesn't concern me. You always feel like, okay, I'll think about that once
Very
I'm
true,
done.
right?
Yeah.
Later on. But when you get in your last years, then you start thinking, oh, my CV is empty. They ask you for a CV and like, oh, it's empty.
One day you
Oh, wait, did you study?
Yeah, one day you open a LinkedIn account, you're not going to have anything to put on there.
Yeah.
And then you see other people with long things that they were doing.
Yeah,
Where
you're
were
like,
you?
where were you?
What were you doing?
Yeah, that's a very important point.
Yeah.
See.
To someone who hasn't started, my advice would be, if you can, shadow. Get some shadowing done before. Go work with a dentist. Do like a day in the life with dentists or with a doctor. See what their actual day is like. Is it what? Oh yeah, they're all doctors. No, I can say it. You can't. But it's like you need to shadow, see what it's like, see if it's something you enjoy. The longer the period of shadowing, the better. Just to see if it's something you'd actually be willing to spend the rest of your life doing. So that would be my advice. And to someone who's going through and struggling, for you to struggle, it means you've already started. So you might as well just finish what you started, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you everything else.
I know.
Yeah, graduation's coming. There's nothing else I can tell you other than just keep going, like stay in there. You've already started. Yeah,
See you away.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, you've already started.
Yeah.
So you just need to keep going.
Yeah.
It'll be worth it in the end, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did ask you, would you advise someone to go for a medical career? Say you have a younger sister. She's like, oh, I'm thinking of engineering. I'm thinking of all these other things. Would you advise someone who has not taken any step into the medical career or the dentistry career? Would you advise them to go for it?
I take my dad's stance. if you want to do it,
Yeah.
I will not tell you not to do something. I will not tell you what to do.
Yeah.
If you want to do it and do it well, just do it. That's all. Just do it well.
Yeah.
Put everything into it. Don't then, oh, I dropped out of mid school when you weren't trying hard enough. No.
Yeah.
If you're gonna pick it, just do it well and give it your all. That's all. No matter what it is, that's for anything. Just do your absolute best. And if you end up leaving it, you know for a fact you did everything you could have possibly done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just like oh my god, I lost the question.
Would you advise someone
Yes.
To go for medicine.
I'll give you like, for example, me when I first applied into dentistry,
Yeah.
I was confused. I was like,
You applied into dentistry?
no, I applied to medicine, but after I'd already done the exams, I was like, maybe I should have just got for dentistry because it's just 5 years. You know, life looks
Yeah.
better on the other side. So, you know, some people also have this confusion. Oh, should I go for dentistry or medicine? Or even if it's not just medicine and dentistry, other career paths. Would you advise someone to go for dentistry, and why would you advise them to go for dentistry?
I don't think I could ever like blindly just say, hey, be a dentist. I could never do that because this is not a great career for everyone. Some people come in and don't hate it. So again, it'll go back to what I said about shadowing. If you want to be an engineer, spend a day or two with
Yeah.
the engineers, speak to engineers, let them tell you about the day, speak to dentists, all these like options you're considering, and then make informed decisions. Don't just make a decision based on, you know, oh, it sounds glamorous, or people are gonna call me doctor, or these things.
My
Like,
parents told me so.
exactly. Like, just my advice to anyone is
Sorry, no, I didn't know.
just make informed decisions
Yeah.
and like find out as much as you can find out before you make a decision. But to answer the question directly, I can't just blindly tell someone study dentistry. No,
Yeah.
because sometimes I don't even know if that was the right thing for me. So I don't know if I can then tell someone to
That's
rush into it.
You just say
Yeah.
that, and it reminded me of this one doctor. Before I thought of coming to med school.
Yeah.
I was asking so many doctors, should I do this? Because I don't have many people in my family that are already going through this career. So it was like
Yeah.
a first thing for me.
Yeah.
So I was looking any and everywhere for inspiration. And I remember there's this one doctor I approached and I asked him, do you think I should do medicine? I've heard it takes about 10 years. Do you think it's a good option for me? He looked at me and was like, you know what? Everything you've heard, everything bad you've heard about medicine is true.
True.
And he did not encourage me, but I think that was the realest doctor because he told me the reality of medicine. He was like, oh, you think it's going to take 10 years? Yes, it's going to take 10 years or even more because some classes you fail them and you have to stay in class. You have to repeat the class. So he was like, yes, it's a very, very hard career. But if you really want to do it, I wouldn't stop you. Just know that. Just be aware of
Prepared.
be prepared.
Yeah.
Be prepared of what's coming for you and know what you're going into.
Yeah.
Don't go into it blindly
Blindly.
because Anyway, so that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much to Faye and Kudzi for being a part of this episode. I am super grateful that you guys came here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I hope.
If today's episode made you feel inspired or a little less alone, share it with us. Tell us your thoughts in the comments. I was your host, Samira Owase, and I'll see you in the next episode.
And thank you very much for tuning in. Bye. See you next time.
Bye.